Hello, and welcome to the Fresh Air Show. What is up, guys, and welcome to a very special month, or episode, I should say, of the Fresh Air Show.
Hello!
Hello.
So, why is it special, you ask? Well, it's because a lot of things have happened for the first time. Like, for instance, me being 21.
Whoa!
Yep, it was my birthday this month, and oh boy, it's been glorious. It really has. I know for a fact that Rowan was there, weren't you?
And I got him probably the best gifts of his life.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. You got me a mug with the Fresh Air Show thumbnail on it and a little Stitch doll of Fresh. Thank you so much for that.
Not to toot my own horn, but as everyone else is coming in, I was just kind of secretly looking at him like, go on, top that, I dare you.
Yeah. Yeah, I've received quite a few things, like, but onto the topic of that mug and that Stitch doll. If we ever get round to making Fresh Air Show merchandise, that is likely what we're going to be producing.
I intend to get you a present as well in the near future, and let's just say that may also be fresh themed. So we'll see which was better, Rowan, in a month.
Try eating a handmade doll.
Yeah, gift fight. So yeah, 21. Apparently it's the last major birthday that one celebrates, and
Yeah.
apparently a long time ago it had to do with at 21 you received the keys to the front door of the house. Like, apparently that was the age you received them. But seeing as we had our door replaced recently, I think, do you want it back? Because the old key's going to be pretty useless now.
I think I've heard that 40 is meant to be a celebrated birthday, so we have that one to look forward to, I guess.
Blame me.
But 21 is the major one.
And that's a long way away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my birthday's been pretty awesome. My avatar's was plastered everywhere. People made personalized cards, and even my main avatar was on the cake.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, at least it's better than my 18th-year-old birthday cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 18 I considered a pretty big year in terms of birthdays, and so what did they think was nice to put on the cake? It was a picture of myself as a baby. Like, why?
Oh, look how far you've come.
Yeah, but surely if it is your own birthday, you get a say on what type of cake you would like. Like, the only person who's not going to enjoy that cake is the person who's the baby, and that was me, so I was like, why?
What sort of cake was it?
It was a classic Victoria sponge. And
Nice.
the best part is that most of the cakes that have been made for me in the past few years have all been homemade, so you know it comes from the heart when it's homemade. But one cake that I despise, and I'm sure the two of you have seen them before. Have any of you received any of those, like, tray cakes?
What, the tray bake ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the chocolate one looked pretty nice with all those sprinkles of white and Maltesers and stuff over the top of it. But
Yeah, but that's just... If you like the taste, that's great, but yeah, to me, that just seems lazy. It's not even a cake, it's just a tray with icing in it.
I'm gonna have. I don't remember if I've had one, so I'm gonna have to double check now and see.
Yeah. So any stories about birthdays you want to bring up?
Well, I guess I got one. I don't think. See, when it came to my 21st, I don't think we did anything amazingly special for it, which it was I kind of missed the opportunity, I guess. So, I mean, we went out for a meal like we typically do on a birthday, and I think I tried a drink or two, but like didn't go crazy. But then for my 26th last year, we went to there's a Star Wars exhibit in London.
Right.
We're sort of made up for the 21st, I guess, and it was really fun.
Mhm.
And it's quite a small exhibition, but you go around and you see the Darth Vader and see how tall Darth Vader really is compared to you, and you see a battle droid, and you're like, oh my god, these things actually look intimidating when you think about how big they are. And it's really fun. But I took a load of pictures, and somehow my camera, they ended up being like, imagine watching a YouTube video, except it's scaled down by 8 and it's a little square. That seemed to happen to all my pictures.
Oh
So
no.
it's really sad, and I don't know how to change them to look better again.
Are you sure you didn't take the lens cap off?
No, I use my phone, so it would have
Jeez.
been.
When that happens, when your photos come out corrupted, that's just painful. Like all that time gone.
But on the plus side, it leaves people to go see it for themselves rather than get it spoilt. So there's that.
Yeah.
Also, Pokemon Go in London. My God,
Wow.
it was crazy.
Oh wow.
That's actually how I realized that the infamous Pokemon Go was out, because suddenly on Facebook there are these videos of rare Pokemon showing up in the game, and all of a sudden you've got hordes of people running into the park and shoving people out of the way going, Dragonite! Dragonite! Is ridiculous. And surprisingly that's not happened. Yes, I have encountered people who play it out in the streets, but hordes I've just not seen in our area.
Wow.
I remember when Pokemon Go first came out, there was a funny YouTube video. I think what it actually was a bunch of rioters in America running out onto the massive road, but they called the video "Rare Mewtwo Found on the Middle of Motorway," and everyone was just running like, ah! It was quite funny.
Jesus Christ. Alright. You're listening to The Fresh Air Show. So another thing that happened for the first time, well, I say first time in a while, I actually attended a wedding of one of my cousins, so that was interesting. Yeah.
Is that the first wedding you've ever been to?
I thought it was, but then I remembered that another cousin of mine was married, and I thought, it might, if anything goes wrong, it might be interesting to bring up on the podcast, so I'm gonna talk about it.
Alright.
Alright, so, my mum had recently bought me a new suit for the wedding, because the last one that I wore was for my prom, and that was like 4 years ago, and it didn't fit anymore, so... and so... my parents were getting a bit frustrated, like, oh, don't get it dirty or while you're trying to eat. We need to make sure we're spick and span when we're leaving. Come on. And I was like, okay, don't pressure me. And so my mum stapled. She pinned a little thistle like flower to my suit jacket, because Scottish wedding,
As you
so
do.
yeah. And Um, it was taking place somewhere in Glasgow, and we were taking the bus there. And when I got on the bus, I realized there was this huge crack down the side of the windshield of the bus, and I was like, "Oh
Oh dear.
Jesus Christ, this is a little unnerving." And the thing is about this bus is that, unlike most public buses, it actually had seat belts, and so I just put that on immediately, like,
Oh no.
yeah. And so we went to Glasgow, and the church. Oh, it was beautiful, and up on the ceiling, I saw one of my original deceased characters show up on the ceiling. Dudley, you'll know what one I'm talking about.
Yeah, from chapter 6 he means people, just to clarify.
Yeah, and I was like, he's here spiritually. And so, um, I very nearly wanted to prank my dad, during the wedding, because my dad has the most annoying ringtone in the past few years I've ever heard.
Oh.
Because, my nephew, Charlie, he's a fan of Thomas the Tank Engine. And so he has a habit of recreating the accidents, particularly shouting, "Look out! Watch out!" You know? And so, my dad, and I regret doing this, my dad asked for help in making his ringtone. And it, I had no choice, alright? I had no choice but to help him. And thus, his ringtone is Charlie shouting, "Watch out! Watch out! Watch out!" over and over and over and over and over again.
Oh wow.
And so, I, I wanted to get back at him somehow, like, maybe change his ringtone to annoying, annoying, annoying.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. What I wanted to do was, during the wedding, you know how the priest says, "If anyone objects that these couples should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace." I wanted to like pretend, like kneel down and get out my phone and text him to say, "Change your ringtone." And imagine that in the church, "Speak now and forever hold your peace." It's dead quiet. Watch out! And then, when he looks at it, it's like, "Change your ringtone." That would have been the moment where he's like, "Okay, this has to stop." But I let my mum in on it, and she was like, "No, no, 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 no. This is a sacred place. You need to keep your phone off." Which I complied with, because when mum says something, it's final. So the reception.
Unless you have a death wish.
Yeah. So the wedding went by as well as planned, and oh yeah, but the reception went pretty well. But one section that I found pretty odd is that the priest decided to read out a section of the Bible, and what caught me off guard, he decided to read out a section from the Book of the Apocalypse. Yeah, not the best thing to start a relationship with by talking about the end.
Well, I mean, for the man, it can be taken as the end of a life.
I mean, doesn't the Book of the Apocalypse talk about an 11-headed dragon that eats a newborn baby?
That sounds awesome.
Do you really want to bring that up at a wedding?
Well, by all means, bring it up at mine. That would be much more interesting
Imagine
than just
if
our
they brought it
standing
up at a
version with
christening. If they brought that up at a christening, people would get angry. Like, "And
That'd
lo
be
and
funny.
behold, the 11-headed dragon taketh this baby and devour it whole." Like, of all things for that dragon to eat, why a baby? Surely it's not gonna.
Oh, sorry, wrong occasion.
Yeah, surely it's not gonna. Surely it's not gonna be that filling, and you need to share it among 10 other heads. I mean,
Was
I
this
like
your
how that's
biggest
what you're
concern?
focusing on.
We both have the same thing.
Excuse me, I want a piece of that leg. No, get your own.
I'm
Who
just
wants
picturing.
giblet? I do. Too late. They're already mine.
I'm just picturing the Hydra from Disney's Hercules after Baby Hercules now.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So yeah, then it came to. Then we went to this other place to host the party. Then it came to the speeches. Not much happened there. But as I did want to pull off another joke, but you know how during the speeches occasionally you have someone say, "Everyone, raise your glasses and toast to this new couple." I remember at the first wedding I attended, I brought along this pair of 3D glasses, and
Oh.
so when they say, "Everyone, raise your glasses," and so I literally held up these 3D glasses to this guy, like, "Yep, everyone's a comedian." But I didn't, simply because I forgot that that could have been said. So yeah, the party was, the music was ridiculously loud. I don't understand why a band needs, speakers and microphones. They're already loud enough. You don't need to deafen us. So yeah, I had to go off somewhere, sit somewhere quiet, like, yeah. Wait for the music to stop so we can go home. So yeah. That's the story of the wedding I attended recently.
I had to go to my cousin's wedding a year ago. It was like he's about a month younger than me.
Right.
It's like we went to this hotel because he booked it out, and it was pretty fun. It was obviously you've got your dancing, and the wedding was really cool. But then the highlight I took from it was obviously their marriage, but the hotel we stayed at, the beds were like all cotton, and it was the most comfortable bed I've ever slept in my life.
Ooh.
And it was like,
Oh, yeah.
I want to get one. And now a year later, they've got a daughter. So time flies, I guess. It's like
Yeah. So Rowan, any stories about weddings you may have attended?
The most recent wedding I went to was my stepdad's sister's, I think.
Right.
Or niece, I don't remember. It was kind of par for the course. The actual wedding was kind of long, and I was just sort of sitting there, like, drumming my fingers on my knee, like, yeah. I'm a very impatient sort of person with this kind of thing, so I was just kind of sitting there, like,
we've all been there. As you say, we've all been there. Like, you wish them well, of course, but you're sat there for a long time, and then when you get to the party afterwards, when the music's loud, you go and sit somewhere for a bit, just chilling. It sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
the thing was long. It was just like, it is marriage, it is all this and that, and I'm just kind of sitting there like, yeah, it's this, it's that. Can we get to the actual part now? And then we go to the reception, and I just sort of go straight for the champagne area.
Of course.
The reception was like this big ballroom area. Like, they literally rented out a ballroom for this place. And there was also this huge fireplace that was perfect. Because this was like a September, November wedding, and it was really chilly. So I was just sort of standing there like, oh, yeah.
Nothing better than an open fire.
Uh-huh. And since I'm not much of a social person, I was just kind of sitting in the corner with the champagne or two in my hand, and there was no Wi-Fi either, so I was just silently suffering.
Oh no.
Uh-huh.
Wi-Fi, no Wi-Fi, my only weakness.
Did oh sorry. Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, what I was picturing there is, sort of like the opening to a scary story. Like you've got like this figure illuminated only by the flames of an open fire, and you're like, "Welcome. The story you're about to hear will definitely shock you."
Yes, and then the 11-headed dragon turns up.
Where are the babies?
Another trademark Fresh Air show.
Well, it's in the
Alright,
Bible.
you can be expecting to see that in the next thumbnail. 11-headed.
Oh,
Yes.
that 11-headed dragon's gonna take photobomb the whole shot.
Just have it like outside the window of the thumbnail.
On it.
Or maybe he can guest star in the Halloween podcast.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Yes. Like,
Yep.
I at least stuck around for them like cutting the cake and the bride and the groom's first dance. But after that, it's like multiple people dancing, and you're like, are you finished yet? Surely you can't hear the music because it's been so loud now.
I guess it's only right to ask, did any of us dance at these dances? No, I didn't.
No. I think the only time I've ever really danced at a particular event was at my prom, and even then it took me a lot of guts to, basically at my high school prom, which is basically the last event in high school before you move on to the big world, there was this girl that I know of who, I guess, she was pretty nice. Like, we knew each other when we were doing school shows and pantomimes, and yeah, we recognized each other a lot. And she was already in a relationship with some other guy, but she said at the prom, like, if you want to dance with me, I won't object. And I was like, oh, thank you. And even then, it took me quite a bit, and my friend Andrew, like, literally, you know how in some cartoons, like, you've got like one overconfident person and a really insecure person, and the confident one's just shoving them forward, like, go on, you can do this. And I'm like, wait, whoa, slow down, Yeah. And so, yeah, as shy as I was, yeah, we ended up dancing to All About That Bass, of all things. And I think my trick to dancing, like, I guess I just copied this girl's movements and sort of get into the swing of things. Like, I don't mind if I'm the one being spun around or she's the one being spun around. At least you're taking part, so...
Yeah, at least you went the full effort. You actually were on the floor dancing. That's good.
Yeah.
Did anyone watch the royal wedding all the way through?
As in the one that happened like years ago?
Yeah.
I think surprisingly the only time I got a chance to see it was when I came out of the shower and the TV was just showing, like, the balcony doors shut, and I'm like, oh, I think this is the thing that they were talking about in school, the wedding. And so I waited there for like 10 minutes, and finally the couple comes out and the crowd applauds. I had to wait for, I think, 5 minutes for them to kiss on screen, but I guess that counts as watching it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't. I kind of felt like I should see some of it, but that morning I had been working, so I went to have a sleep, and I saw a bit of it later. The main bits I saw were the preacher, who was really good. You know, like his voice is echoing around the cathedral, and it's like it was pretty cool. And then the last thing I saw was them heading back to the palace in the cart and horses, and then afterwards was the bit you saw where they kiss on the balcony as well, which is
Yeah.
so yeah.
So yeah.
You are listening to the Fresh Air Show.
So it's time for another segment of the month's most ridiculous headlines. All right. In this month's news, some people sent a loaf of garlic bread into space and proceeded to eat it when it came back down. What idiots. Like, sending something into space, I can understand that, because you want to see what it looks like in space, but just digest that thought for a second. You send a food product into space, into the great unknown, where you don't know what's out there, whether it be moon dust or parasitic bacteria that can survive in the vacuum of space. And then you proceed to eat said garlic bread without thinking of the consequences.
First of all, what? Second, why? Third, how?
They used like a weather balloon and attached it to like a tray or something and sent it up. But seriously, eating something from space, that's how apocalyptic scenarios begin, when some uncurable disease hits humanity. Like, oh, I wonder how this happened. You ate something that was from space.
Actually, I happened to be there on the day, and they were handing some of the bread out, and I think it tasted pretty. Right. Oh no!
like food items in space is never really a good idea, because NASA became furious when some astronaut bought like a chicken sandwich onto the International Space Station. Have you heard of that story?
No.
Alright, so basically, I'm not sure what the year was. Basically, you know how on like these space trips, you know, all the food is like powdered and compacted? Yeah. Well, one astronaut decided to be sneaky and snuck on a chicken sandwich with him to the International Space Station. And the other astronauts found out about this, sent him back to Earth with the sandwich, and now NASA has that sandwich encased in a block of PVC, which is now on display at one of their museums.
So they get mad about that, but they send garlic bread into space and eat it when it comes back?
I guess the bread was an experiment, though, whereas this shouldn't have been there. I mean, like I say, like if you send something specifically to space to see what will happen, then that's fine. If you take a chicken sandwich, I don't know, maybe the chicken could get into the electrics.
Yeah,
oh, no!
I think that was the concern, like, because in zero gravity, you know, bread can produce quite a lot of crumbs, and that could get into, like, the system and make it malfunction. So I think that was sort of the concern.
I don't know, though. I think if someone sent garlic bread to space, brought it back down and said, and after they'd done some health checks on it, they said try some, I think I'd be willing to try some just to see.
Alright. I could just imagine those people at like a health center, and you've got like the doctor there saying, "Alright, sir, what seems to be the problem?" And they're all horribly mutated, like, you know.
Do you know what the doctor's favourite food is, Daniel?
I don't know.
Oh dear.
Dalek bread.
Oh, there's our first bad joke of this podcast. All right.
Dudley, you're so lucky I don't know where you live.
All right. All right, this next headline, it's about Hurricane Florence. Now, forgive me.
Okay.
Now, forgive me if you find this story, saddening or whatever. If you happen to be at the mercy of Hurricane Florence, but I'm just gonna say this story here. Okay, prisons in the wake of Hurricane Florence are not being evacuated.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently the police are so desperate to keep these dangerous criminals from entering the world, they're willing to let them die at the hands of Florence.
To be in their defense, prisons are very secure buildings, so I bet that doesn't leave a scratch on the prison. I mean, surely.
Yeah, but...
Oh, they're all going to escape.
Yeah, that was my concern. Like, if a bulldozer is powerful enough to crash through a prison wall, surely a hurricane is not that far away. Like, imagine all the good people who have evacuated. Imagine they come back, and their towns and houses are now populated by mass murderers and criminals. Like, it'll be like that town in Pokemon Sun and Moon that's run by Team Skull.
Well, then again, I guess it comes down to if you were in a prison and suddenly the wall broke open because of the hurricane, you'd be like, "Yeah, I'm free." Wait, if I leave, the hurricane could kill me.
It's like that guy from the Simpsons movie. It's like, the dome's coming down on a town, and it's like, if I stay, I'm trapped. If I leave, I'm alone. Oh God.
In, out. And then it just crushes him on.
Yeah.
Either way, whatever happens to those criminals, burn in hell.
Wow. That's...
What? We've all...
Never thought you say that.
What? Burn? Alright. I think the last headline I want to talk about is this.
Yeah.
KFC is willing to pay someone $1,100 if they name their child Colonel Sanders. Yeah. KFC want you to name your kids Colonel Harlan David Sanders.
1,100 quid isn't enough money for that. Well, actually,
This is something the child will have to live with.
Jeez. I just I go to KFC quite on occasion. It's an occasional treat, I do admit. But if I was one of those people, I would think, okay, if you could pay me that amount of money, if you make my baby the mascot of KFC, like replace Colonel Sanders' face with just like this giant baby's head, like, yeah, that'll do.
The 11-headed dragon would definitely turn up to try and eat the baby then if he likes KFC.
Wow.
And so we keep going back.
It's just too easy.
Wow.
I'll tell you what though, when I was looking at videos to see what it'd be like to go to Japan, at Christmas they also make you this massive Christmas pudding and stuff. It comes with the KFC and all that stuff, and it looks really cool. Like they go into that further detail to give you stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, the Japanese they love their KFC at Christmas. Like,
I was going to say, speaking of other things, I once heard ages ago where two parents are trying to get permission to name their son Dracula.
well, to be fair, Vlad Dracula was a real person, so...
Yeah.
Yet again, he was also
called...
called...
stop the connotations.
Yet again, he was also called Vlad the Impaler, so yeah, not the best idea for naming your child. I'm Randy Newman, and you're listening to the Fresh Air Show. I'm Randy Newman. Alright, Dudley, you had something you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, so all this talk of birthdays got me thinking about, for some reason it made me come up with a embarrassing story to tell you both.
Oh boy.
Oh.
So when I was about, let's say, 7 or 8, something like that,
Mhm.
there was a dress up in a costume day at school.
Right.
And it is funny, to be fair, but my parents came up with the idea to send me in dressed as a clown.
Oh.
And
Of
the
all
costume looks good
of all
in
things,
hindsight.
your parents decided to dress you up as the most unfunny character in the world. Clowns are anti-humor. They suck funny out of the room.
So, I dare not show you the picture to put on here, but I went to, so I had these like big blue trousers with straps on my shoulders and like a hat with a ginger hair and things, and I walked out over the middle of the playground with everybody pointing and laughing at my costume.
Oh no.
The rest of the day, I began to get used to the costume, and it was alright, and I relaxed. But at first, that was so embarrassing.
I thought it was gonna end up with like, you were the only one dressed up compared to everyone else dressed in school uniforms.
No, I clearly had the best costume.
Oh.
But this brought me to, seeing as it's almost Halloween and we were talking about birthdays and stuff, I was going to say, what is your take on clowns?
I think social media sort of ruined like the business of being a clown. Like, do you remember like 2 years ago how all those creepy clown sightings suddenly popped up?
Oh, the clown epidemic in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah, it spread to the UK as well in random points. Like, I was the year after that, I was sort of waiting in fear for like the next the next creepy clown video to pop up. I was particularly scared because the year after they were gonna release the new reboot of It, which if in case you didn't know, also stars a creepy clown. And so
Yeah.
those encounters scared me. Like, oh god, it's gonna be even worse. They're all gonna be dressed up like Pennywise. But surprisingly, no. Suddenly they just didn't show up. They'd gone back into hiding.
Maybe it was so bad that they didn't want to be a clown anymore. I don't know. I haven't seen the reboot.
Apparently, it's a really good. Apparently, it's better than the original movie, even though I've not seen it yet. Those are critics' words, not mine.
Oh, I thought critics said that he preferred Tim Curry's one, but I'm going to have to double check.
Well, just
The
certain
nostalgia
people.
critic preferred the original because the original Pennywise had a bit more like charm and character to him.
Yeah, because
Yeah, the new one was just sort of stereotypically scary, but the original one had like his. He was a good clown. Like he would actually make you laugh after a while.
yeah.
Like this. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's always a good indicator. If you just do that on repeat, you're bound to get some laughs.
But they have a Blackpool Tower Circus, and we used to go there, and the clowns there were funny. Like, you know, they were friendly and stuff, and I had a picture with one. And also the famous clown Ronald McDonald, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, as an icon.
yeah.
But I tell you what though, I have to recommend a film to all of you. Now I doubt you've heard of it. If any of you get the chance, check out Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
What?
It's
What?
funny.
Wow.
It's meant to be a horror film, but it's one of them old ones where you can laugh at it. Like, but I actually found it generally entertaining. It's really good. Like, here's an example: the clown makes a shadow puppet of a T-Rex, and then the shadow eats the people. You're like, this is flipping funny. I like
Sounds interesting.
That sort of raise a finger with an open mouth sort of thing, like.
Wow.
Not quite. It's funnier. It looks funnier, but like.
You know, speaking of Ronald McDonald, like, there's only one McDonald's locally, and a lot of the times I went on several years, they would say, "Oh, Ronald McDonald's coming back," and because I think they were sort of building up that some person dressed as Ronald McDonald would actually be in the building, and I was like, yeah, he was practically never there, and I was like, okay, I never really had an opinion on Ronald McDonald. I just knew that he likes fast food and talks about his stomach.
Somehow is able to maintain that figure.
Yeah, even after years of consuming the same products. So,
I've sorry. I was gonna say I've got another thing we can discuss if you want.
Oh yeah.
sure.
Cool. Okay. So today I saw the Captain Marvel trailer.
Ah, yes.
Uh,
I thought it looked very good. Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
I've seen parts of it.
I think one of the key points to point out is when you're watching it, you see an old Blockbuster store, which shows the time that the film is meant to be set.
Yeah.
And
Blockbuster.
I was half expecting to see Toys R Us there as well.
Oh,
That would have too soon. Too
too
soon.
soon. Like
But
Captain Marvel, you have to take down Thanos. You have to.
But that aside, the trailer looks very good.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it's sort of bears resemblance to the latest Doctor Who trailer as well, which has got I think it's Brodie Whittaker. Is that her name?
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie. Dang it, I was close.
Brody.
Brodie. But that looks very good as well.
Yeah. I think it's the arguments that are getting to you, like like some fans were getting angry, like, oh, the Doctor's supposed to be a man. And I point my finger and say, really? An alien being who has the power to change his face and personality when he's on the brink of death is considered impossible. Really?
To be a woman.
Yeah. At least give them a chance and wait till the whole season is over before you rush to a final judgment.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, sorry.
Going back to the Captain Marvel thing, apparently a lot of people were complaining that Captain Marvel didn't smile in her posters.
She didn't smile.
Yeah, they were like, oh, she'd be a lot prettier if she smiled.
I don't smile. I don't smile a lot either, and yeah, I'm yeah, I'm just good looking.
Well, she smiles a lot in her trailer. That's
Yeah, people were just being like, oh, she looks so serious. She should smile a bit. And in response, like, I think it was maybe the poster makers or something, but they re-released like a bunch of other movie posters like Doctor Strange and Captain America, except all of them are smiling. And it just looks bizarre.
Yeah, like, yee.
you need a magnifying glass to see Ant-Man. Because do you remember the poster for Ant-Man?
Yeah, I
That
think
was
if
cool.
you look that up, you'll see what I'm talking about. And
I will.
Jeez, it all depends on what scenario these characters are in the poster. Like I could just imagine, like, at the end of, say, like, Infinity War, like, the characters that remain, they're all prepared for the next movie, and yet they all have like these stupid grins on their face, like, does this make the poster look better? I don't think so.
There's
Yeah.
explosions behind me. Whee!
Or maybe it could be Captain America Civil War. It has Iron Man and Captain America looking at each other, but instead they're going to like embrace each other and a hug and smiling to each other. It's like, hey, buds!
Yeah. Oh, that was a hilarious joke. Imagine that. Well, we've hit our target time zone, so I think that'll probably do us for this month.
Cool.
So yeah, guys, next month is Halloween. Hopefully there are no creepy clowns to disturb the trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
Oh god.
I have acquired, for the first time in ages, a costume for Halloween,
Oh.
and I'm going to surprise you all and give you a picture next time to see what I got. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think.
Ah, yeah. Yes. Oh, I should also bring up, for those of you who listen, October 13th, or somewhere around that date, I will be heading to London, where I will be meeting Dudley for the first time in person.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm just putting that out there now, just in case, we happen to do the trip before the next recording, so there'll be some interesting content on our channels when it comes to that point.
Indeed, yes. Oh yeah, that's going to happen before the next podcast as well, so that'll be good. That'll be interesting.
Alright, well, we'll see you guys, hopefully, for the Fresh Air Show next month. Time to say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
See you later. See you soon, Dan.
Stay fresh. See ya. You have been listening to The Fresh Air Show. Leave a comment down below or email Fresh Powder. See you next month for a whole new slew of content. I'm talking really fast right now because it's what they do at the end of the radio shows.